welcome back to the channel guys, my name is Viking Size Gamer, and today we're going to talk about 5 modes that could return in WWE 2K19. Season Mode. Back in WWE SmackDown vs Raw 2006, they had a new mode come out called Season Mode. This was essentially My Career, but slightly different. In fact, it actually had some things that were better than My Career mode for 2018, which is really strange to think that you can go back that far and there are some things that are actually an improvement over what you currently have. For instance, 2006 boasted the fact that you didn't have to have text on the screen, and in fact, your created superstar had the ability to speak by himself. You could choose five different voices for your created superstar to actually say things with. That is a major step in the right direction. So boasted over 100 individual cutscenes lasting from 2 minutes to 6 minutes in length. Now for a WWE game, that is unreal, is considering the fact that this was 12 years ago and each of the people that were in those cutscenes had voices. If they had a voice in the game, you could play as them. That was just another level for WWE games back then. I was super impressed even back then as a kid. Now, these days, obviously, we don't have voices for the characters. Your character doesn't have a voice, the WWE superstars don't have a voice. Where does that leave us right now? Well, as it turns out, Season Mode was something that you could basically play as either your character or one of the Raw or SmackDown superstars, and at this point, really that mode could be amalgamated into My Career if they could just get the voice acting done. Nothing has changed, the schedule is still incredibly lengthy for WWE superstars, but somehow they managed to get the voiceovers done back then. There's a massive opportunity for them to actually either bring this mode back as a replacement for My Career or make the additions needed and necessary to make My Career have the same sort of longevity as Season Mode did. Defeat the Streak. Everybody loved playing Defeat the Streak. All you had to do was select a superstar and try and defeat The Undertaker in a match that would go on seemingly forever. And this match wasn't just any match, it was against the Phenom. Just as you thought you had beat him every single time, the man would get back up until eventually you could defeat him, or he would simply take you apart. This was a game of thought, and this was a game of reflex as well, because The Undertaker was massively overpowered, and if your timing wasn't correct for the reversals, he would take you apart piece by piece. You would rest in peace. This mode was quite frankly one of the more fun modes in a WWE game, and really allowed us to try and challenge ourselves and our skills against the computer on what was frankly the hardest difficulty that you probably could get in a WWE game ever. The Undertaker Defeat the Streak mode would be brilliant to bring back as a mode in a WWE game, especially WWE 2K19. It would make sense for us to bring this back and try and make something of this mode, and I'm especially pleased to think that this mode could include Defeat the Streak for Asuka. Now this would make complete sense considering the streak that she's had, and she is still currently undefeated, allowing you to play as a female superstar and trying to beat Asuka's streak, rather than having to just play as a male superstar and trying to defeat The Undertaker. Now this mode, I'm really looking forward to seeing if they do put it back in, maybe as a celebration for The Undertaker. We have to see how that goes, but I am really intrigued to see if they maybe do something similar to like this. Road to WrestleMania. It's no secret that everybody was a fan of the Road to WrestleMania. You could take any one of probably about 6 superstars, depending on which game it was that you were playing, and take them through a proper storyline that has been written and beautifully put together by some of WWE's head writers and the guys at THQ. These storylines were set out individually and voiced by the superstars that they were doing it for too. People like Rey Mysterio, Batista, John Cena, Chris Jericho. They had these modes made specifically for them, and you got to play through their story. This was about 30 hours worth of content. You could do this with those superstars, you could even do it with your created superstar. There was so much to do with these modes, and let's face it, if you're going to do a Road to WrestleMania, you're going to want to play the different characters to see how their stories differentiate from each other. I would be really interested to see how they put this mode in WWE 2K19 if they could, because playing as a WWE superstar could be just as interesting as playing as your own created superstar as well. That option should be there. EA has the ability to do it with UFC superstars. Why doesn't WWE have the ability to do it with their own superstars? Showcase mode. Everybody loved Showcase mode. It just made sense. This mode was perfect in every sense that you could go back and play as your favourite WWE superstars in a crafted, fully reimagined historical take on what they did in their career. This was a huge win for whatever person you were playing as, depending on who it was in the cover, usually depending on who you got as the showcase match, but usually there were a few in there, and I personally loved playing through so many different showcase modes. The fact that you got to relive the history, and they put in the highlight reels from all these different eras, from all these different superstars. They hyped up the matches, they got you involved. If you weren't born during that era, if you weren't around to watch the WWE matches that were on during that time, if you missed out on Raw is War, the Monday Night Wars, anything like that, this showcase mode was for you. It was for you to learn the history of wrestling and where we came from and how we got to where we are today, and celebrating the superstars that have graced that ring. HBK, Stone Cold, The Undertaker, Kane. There were so many amazing superstars, and every single one of them had an amazing showcase. I cannot believe they took this mode out. This was a celebration of the WWE's history and deserves to be put back in the game. I can understand they have been concentrating on My Career and Universe mode, trying to make this better, the best that it can be, but it's missing something. The longevity of the game is dying for something that you can play and enjoy and go back for that nostalgia or discover something new for yourself. And this mode, 2K Showcase, needs to come back. We need to be able to celebrate the career of some of the greatest superstars to ever grace the squared circle, and the perfect time is right now. GM mode. Here we are, the #1 mode requested by WWE Games fans. Everybody, and I mean everybody, has been asking for GM mode for years. If you haven't played it. If you have been requesting it, you are in the same boat as millions and millions of fans. This mode was Universe mode, but it got kind of neutered, is probably the best way to say it. The fact that you could use this mode, you could play against the AI and try and get the better show. You could manage the contracts of the superstars. You could turn people heel or face or put them as tweeners. You could decide who you wanted to push. You could decide if you were going to trade superstars with the other brand. You could launch invasions. You would sort out storylines. You would decide who would be the champion. This mode was Universe mode, and Universe mode became this mode, a watered down former shell of itself, and it wasn't the same. And the reason for that is because Universe mode gives you more creativity and it gives you more time to do the things that you'd like to do, but GM mode was something different. GM mode had more of a structure. It allowed you to get into the nitty-gritty of actually booking a show, having to compete against an AI. When you play Universe mode, you're only playing against yourself. This isn't a mode really, this is just you booking your own fantasy time. Really, GM mode was all about trying to develop a really good show against the computer, trying to sign those superstars away, trying to make sure the audience would tune into your show rather than watching the other one. And that was where the chemistry would lie. This GM mode would be absolutely perfect if they could change it up just a little bit, add a few features in. Things like the ability to move brands if you wanted to switch, even if you started as a GM of NXT, and once you've proven yourself there and booked some very good storylines and got yourself a decent following in NXT, you could decide maybe to stay there or move on to Raw or SmackDown and then give yourself a really big boost, bringing people with you that you had created in NXT and their momentum up to the next brand that you decide to manage. This brand would be your baby. This brand would be the one that you would build up to be something. But you would have to deal with the daily hassles as well of the authority, of people trying to get themselves a push, of morale of the superstars if you don't push them enough, if you don't use them, or if you misuse them, them deciding that they'd like to jump ship to the other brand. These sorts of consequences should be in the game. These sorts of decisions should be there for you to decide and try and rectify in the game. GM mode was a perfect storm of you trying to manage the WWE in your own way. It made sense that this mode should come back. It makes sense that they should be looking at developing this mode, because really, if anything, it could tack on to Universe mode. I don't know about you, but I am sick of playing Universe mode. As much as of the freedom that I get from it, a lot of people don't know what to do with that freedom. And don't get me wrong, I don't want them to remove Universe mode. I want them to keep it in. But if anything, I'd like to have something to tack onto it where it allows me to actually challenge myself rather than just playing needless and endless matches and booking things which will have no meaning in the long run. This is the perfect time to put it back in. GM mode needs to come in for the longevity of the game. You can do this, and I know you can 2K. This mode is desperately needed to keep players coming back. People play games like Football Manager for years. The longevity of those games is unreal, and the reason for that is because they can do things, they play against the AI, they try and get their brand or their football club as far as possible. With WWE GM mode, you should be able to do that. You should be afforded the opportunity to go against the AI and prove that you can book the best show that they have ever seen. Now, I believe that that should be the top 5 modes that could possibly come back in WWE 2K19. I hope you guys agree with me. If you don't, let me know in the comments. If you do, then tell me in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more WWE 2K19 content as it comes out. We are looking for news, we are searching for it, we are bringing out the WWE 2K18 content as well as we go. Hopefully you'll be joining me for more WWE 365 James Saxon. Until then, thanks for watching.